All right, let's jump right in. Today, I want you to stop thinking about your marketing tech as some cold, static piece of software. Instead, I want you to picture something else. Picture a garden, a living, breathing garden that, needs constant care if you want it to actually thrive and give you amazing results. And this quote from our source material just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? You can't just plant some seeds, walk away, and hope for the best. Nope. Real success, that comes from actually getting your hands dirty and tending to that garden over time. So that's the big question, isn't it? Tending the garden sounds nice, but what does it actually mean when we're talking about technology? How do we turn this lovely metaphor into a practical day-to-day strategy? Well, that is exactly what we are about to unpack. Okay, so let's get on the same page. Section 1, the Martech Garden. We're going to kick things off by really defining what this whole continuous improvement thing is all about in the Martech world. The key thing to get here is that this is not a one-and-done project. It's a completely different mindset. It's less like building a house with a clear finish line and way more like, tending to the soil. It's this constant cycle, You're always looking at what you've got, asking, how can this be better? And then making those little smart tweaks that help it grow. And if there's one thing you need to burn into your brain, it's this. This is your new mantra. Test, learn, improve, repeat. Seriously, this simple little loop is the engine behind absolutely everything we're going to talk about. It's the secret sauce that turns a good garden into a great one. Okay, so how do we actually put this into practice? Well, just like in a real garden, you can't just start planting flashy, exotic flowers if the ground is full of weeds, right? You've got to handle the basics first. You've got to pull those weeds and make sure the soil is actually healthy. And finding those weeds in your Martech stack, it's not about just guessing. You need a process. And your best friend for this is a performance audit. It's pretty simple, really. You look at every tool, every process you have. You figure out where the gaps are, what features you're paying for but not even using, and then boom, you've got a concrete action plan. And this is such a great example of what an audit can uncover. I mean, think about it. Are there email sequences you set up 2 years ago that are just still running? It happens all the time. We find these ancient set-it-and-forget-it campaigns just chugging along. An audit shines a big, bright light into those dusty corners so you can finally clean them up. This right here, this is the big shift. This is about moving from guesswork to data. We're getting away from relying on hunches or what just feels right. Instead, we're leveraging A/B test results. We're analyzing where people drop off in the customer journey. Every single decision is now driven by actual hard evidence. It's a total game changer. All right, so we've pulled the weeds, we've watered the soil, our foundation is looking pretty solid. Now it's time for the fun part. Let's get a little ambitious and talk about making this garden truly flourish. Oh man, we've all seen this, right? Your best customer just dropped a ton of money, and the very next day, they get an email that says, "Hey, we miss you." Ugh, it's such a classic mistake, and it's a dead giveaway that your garden is disconnected. When your tools don't talk to each other, you get these weird, jarring experiences that just kill your credibility. The fix? You need to build strong, connected root systems under the soil. This is all about integration, making sure data flows freely between your tools. So when your CRM sees that big purchase, it instantly tells your email platform, "Hey, hold up on that 'we miss you' email." That is a smart garden at work. And this is where we can start planting some really cool stuff. Think of AI as like your new super-powered assistant gardener. It's working 24/7, it can look at all your data and predict who's most likely to buy, it can personalize content for every single person automatically. It's not just about working harder, it's about making your entire garden work smarter. But look, you can have the most amazing high-tech tools on the planet, but they're completely useless if you don't have skilled gardeners to run them. The human element is, and I really mean this, it is always the most important piece of the puzzle. A fancy tool in untrained hands is just a sports car stuck in first gear. It's a total waste. So this idea of continuous improvement, it's not just for the tech, it's for your people too. It's about building a culture where everyone is always learning, where you share your wins and your failures, and where you're all just genuinely curious about what's around the corner. Okay, so you've done all this work. You've been weeding, watering, planting new things, training your team. But how do you know it's actually working? How do you prove it's all worth it? Well, you've got to measure the harvest. And one of the easiest wins to show is efficiency. Look at this. Taking a weekly report that used to take 3 hours and getting it down to 10 minutes, that's a huge win. That is real time your team gets back, time they can now spend on thinking and strategy instead of just pulling data. Efficiency is awesome, don't get me wrong, but at the end of the day, it's all about the harvest, right? It's about results. All this work has to lead to better performance. When you can show a chart like this, a conversion rate jumping from 2.5% to 4%, that is undeniable proof that all your hard work is paying off. And here's a metric people often forget. Measure your team. Are they actually using the new tools you rolled out? Seeing a high adoption rate like 75% here is a fantastic sign. But if that number is low, it's not a failure. It's a signal. It tells you exactly where you need to focus more on training and support. So this is really the whole point. A Martech garden is never, ever done. You absolutely should celebrate your wins, enjoy the success. But the very next day, the question has to be, okay, how can we make this even better? It's a mindset. It's a perpetual cycle of growth. So I'm going to leave you with a question, a challenge, really. After everything we've talked about, what's the first weed you're going to pull from your Martech garden? What's one small thing, an outdated process, an underused tool that you can tackle tomorrow to start making your own garden just a little bit healthier?